Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So we've been talking a whole bunch about Captain America and Spider-Man just because all the Marvel stuff that's been going on. Tom Holland is the new Peter Parker, so I figured it was time to start talking about Spider-Man villains. Kevin Feige actually said this really funny thing. He said, everyone just kind of takes for granted that he's in Captain America Civil War, but they said that they're still trying to settle on a villain for that first new Spider-Man movie at Sony. The biggest problem that they have is that they have too many choices. There are like too many good Spider-Man villains. That's actually part of the true value of the Spider-Man character, just in terms of IP at a movie studio. They have a whole new creative team behind it. They want to do something new, so they can't just do Spider-Man villains that we've seen before, or if they are going to do that, they need to do them in dramatically different ways. The way they're talking about it, what was probably going to happen is we won't see like a specific Spider-Man villain till that first Spider-Man movie. Like they're just not going to worry about it during Captain America Civil War. Like there's already way too many characters in that movie. Most of the energy right now is focused on finishing that movie, so don't expect any like huge Spider-Man announcements in terms of villains, at least till the end of the year, till after they drop the first Captain America Civil War trailer. Just to put it into context, the timeline of the new Spider-Man movies will sync up with the Marvel movies. Spider-Man and his new movies will be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they're not going to try and gum up the works by turning the Spider-Man franchise into an Avengers franchise. Based on what Kevin Feige is saying about it right now, I'm just assuming we're going to see cameos from Avengers in the Spider-Man movies, but for the most part, they're going to exist on their own. Think of the way Guardians of the Galaxy fits into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We didn't see like a ton of Earth-based Avengers stuff in that movie, and we're probably not going to see it in the second movie either. But they are all connected, so expect Spider-Man to connect in the same way that Guardians connects with the other Marvel movies. So just working down the list, here are like my top 5 favorite Spider-Man villains. Some of them also cross over with other Marvel characters, so you see how this is a really good thing that they formed this agreement with Sony. Starting with number 5, Kingpin. Very awesome Daredevil villain, probably going to stay mostly in that universe, but now that we have Spider-Man, we can use the Daily Bugle, we can do more Hell's Kitchen, we can open it up to the rest of New York pretty much. He's definitely a classic, and he's a great character all by himself. Vincent D'Onofrio is doing a great job of developing that character. You'll see in season 2, it'll get even crazier. But one of the things I think that's going to prevent him from being in that first Spider-Man movie is that he's such a high school character. Peter Parker will be around 16 when we see him, so Wilson Fisk is a more mature villain. So I think if he plays any kind of role in this new Spider-Man trilogy, it'll be background at most. Like he'll be a villain to one of the other villains. Typically what you want for the very first Spider-Man villain of a new trilogy is someone who's very personal. Peter Parker has to have a very deep relationship with whoever they pick. And right now, Kingpin's deepest enemy relationship is with Daredevil. He's trying to take over the city, and that's not something that a high school kid would be worried about. He'd be like, okay, I'm gonna let the Avengers take care of this because I'm worried about passing my math test on Friday. Interestingly enough, he's one of the few Spider-Man villains to gain Spider-Man powers. It was back during 2011 when they did the Spider Island storyline. That was kind of like a shark jump moment for me, so it was just like a little too ridiculous. I know they have the Spider-Verse now, and I love Spider-Gwen. Silk is very interesting, but it's like you can't give everybody Spider-Man powers without it getting ridiculous. There were actually a lot of theories that Marvel was doing that as a way to subtly shade Sony with their Spider-Man franchise. I don't think that's true. I think they were just trying to do something different with the characters, but I always love hearing about tinfoil Marvel theories. On to number 4, Kraven the Hunter. I think Sony had actually planned to use him in their Sinister Six spin-off movie, which is now kind of dead in the water. I know everyone always asks about that. What happened to Venom and Sinister Six? They'll get made eventually, but not before this new Spider-Man trilogy. Kraven is just like old school Sinister Six, so of course he's got to be on the list. Sinister Six as a group could almost be treated as one villain, just because they're so much fun together. It's like the Flash Rogues. Very interesting by themselves, but way more interesting when they get together. There was this really crazy storyline that I don't think that they would ever do on screen, but it's just so amazing. It's called Kraven's Last Hunt. It was from like way back in 1987. Kraven hunts down Spider-Man, puts him in a coma, buries him in the ground, makes a copy of his costume, and in his mind goes around fighting crime like Spider-Man, just to prove that he's better at Spider-Man than everything, even at his own job. That to me just sounds like the most comic booky story ever. It's just like a story that would never work in any other format, like Howard the Duck Deadpool level ridiculousness. To be fair though, wisecracking Spider-Man is a little ridiculous himself, so you can do sillier things when you're doing a Spider-Man story. It's just that certain Marvel characters take themselves more seriously than others, like Daredevil, gritty crime drama, not super ridiculous. Spider-Man, also bit of a crime drama, but just a little bit more fun because it's a story about a high schooler He wisecracks a lot. So you could think of it as like the midpoint between, say, like Daredevil and a Deadpool story, whereas like Deadpool is like way over the top. On to number 3, Mysterio. And not just any Mysterio, because there's been a bunch of them. The original, Quentin Beck. Interestingly enough, also a Daredevil villain. So you see how all this Spider-Man stuff just works so much better now that he's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This version of the Mysterio was the one that started out as the special effects wizard. When he was in the process of forming his identity for the first time, becoming Mysterio for the first time, he actually targeted Spider-Man because he wanted to get better. He wanted to be a supervillain, but he wanted to pick a relatively inexperienced superhero to go up against. I don't know that Marvel and Sony would choose someone this weird to go with for their first villain, but he totally works with high school Spider-Man, with the Tom Holland Spider-Man. He will be super inexperienced. This whole new trilogy will probably end with him graduating high school, so it's like a big education process for him this whole time. On to number 2, Venom. You could almost say the real villain is the symbiote, and they've done just as many weird things with the symbiote and it's like spreading the character across a bunch of different incarnations as they have with Spider-Man himself. Like you have Anti-Venom, you have the Flash Thompson Venom, who's in space with Guardians of the Galaxy and is kind of like a really dark hero. You have Carnage, who they actually did something really interesting with during the Axis storyline. You can see why they would want to do like a Venom spin-off movie. There's just so many directions you could go with that character. And we can just forget about Spider-Man 3's Venom. Just put that out of your mind. We'll just put that in a drawer somewhere and never go look for it. The reason Venom is such a compelling story is because he's almost like this dark mirror of Spider-Man. He's like the dark place in his soul that he doesn't want to look at. That's the whole symbiote story. He gets so dark and he's like, oh my God, what's happened to me? I need to get rid of this. That's why I don't think we're going to see him anytime soon in the new Spider-Man trilogy, or if we do, it won't be till the very end, because before this, Tom Holland Spider-Man has a dark identity that he has to grapple with. He has to have an identity to begin with. So he'll have to spend all of his time in Captain America Civil War in this first movie just establishing what baseline is before he can go dark. Just in the way that Punisher is going to be the lethal version of Daredevil in Daredevil Season 2, Venom is the lethal version of Spider-Man. But finally, my number 1 pick, this is actually a tie between Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin, the Norman Osborn Green Goblin. Kevin Feige actually said this really interesting thing about Spider-Man 2, big Dr. Octopus movie. He called it one of the greatest superhero movies ever. And I feel like, even if it might not be the greatest superhero movie ever, it's definitely the best Spider-Man movie ever. Not just because of Dr. Octopus. There are a million reasons why movies are good or bad. At his core, though, he has a lot of similarities to Spider-Man. He's like symbiote Spider-Man that never got rid of the symbiote, that just went dark. Say what you will about Superior Spider-Man, but I love the idea that they put him into Spider-Man's body and he tries to be a hero. Great concept that just didn't always work. And Green Goblin obviously just goes without saying. He has that deep personal connection with Spider-Man that all villains need, all great villains. He created the circumstances necessary for Spider-Man to get that accidental spider bite. But in doing so, it led to the sequence of events that caused him to become the Green Goblin. Every great villain creates their worst enemy and vice versa, like every great hero creates their own worst villain. Kevin Feige has said that they're going all the way back to the beginning with this new Spider-Man character, so that it's going to be like the truest version to the comics that we've ever seen. That means we'll probably see Kingpin somewhere in there, we'll probably see Green Goblin, like everybody from the very beginning. Here's my big question for you guys. Who is your favorite Spider-Man villain, and who do you think that they're going to pick to be the villain of this first new Spider-Man movie? Like I said, this is still a long ways off. They're mostly focused on Captain America Civil War right now, so they're not even going to be shooting this new Spider-Man movie till next year. That's really like one of the big reasons why Sony isn't worried about Comic-Con this year, just because it's so far off in the distance. They just found their Spider-Man, they just found their director, so now they need to work on the story and then cast all these other big characters. What they might end up doing, though, is using Captain America Civil War, Spider-Man's first appearance, to promote the first Spider-Man movie. So we're probably going to start hearing more about this next Spider-Man movie next spring, whenever that comes out. But since it's like so far off in the distance, if there are any Spider-Man videos that you guys want me to do, just let me know in the comments. This weekend, I'm actually going to start doing my Comic-Con previews, because Wednesday, it's actually like right around the corner. Wednesday is the first preview night, and then we start rolling into like the actual stuff. So be sure to subscribe to get everything, and congratulations to this week's Marvel giveaway winner. Finn, you win a $20 Amazon gift card. Just be sure to private message me on my channel so I can get your contact info. I'll explain how my Comic-Con giveaways are going to work whenever I start posting the Comic-Con previews. The first one should post by tomorrow, so just look out for that. In the meantime, just in case you guys haven't seen it, Marvel released a viral clip that connects Ant-Man to Civil War and Avengers Age of Ultron. You can click here for my breakdown of that, and you can click here for my breakdown of the Batman v Superman preview they released yesterday. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.